up, Aiden?
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad, brother. Dan Lynch from Sirius XM. How are you?
Good.
Welcome to LA. This is Chris Childers.
Appreciate it.
Let's kick it off.
You hold this first?
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, Aiden Fisher here with us on Sirius XM. It is Rose Bowl week. Aiden, how's it feeling, man?
It's good. Getting out here a little early is a lot better than the usual 24 hours. So, just getting some preparation still done. But it's good to be here, and the weather's pretty nice. So I'm happy to be out here.
You've played a lot of football in your lifetime. A little bit different when you have all this time off between games. What has it been like to reset since the Big Ten championship?
Oh yeah, it's definitely been nice. Kind of reset, refocus. Spend some time. Some guys were able to take some time to go home, see some loved ones. Just kind of things that kind of get you refocused. But it's been great with our preparation. I know we were preparing for both teams for 2 weeks, and then we were able to kind of focus in on Alabama the last 9 to 10 days. So it's been great from a preparation standpoint, and to be able to reset, refresh, and kind of refocus.
So you got to see your family?
We did.
Well,
yeah.
How was it? Like, were people was it all Indiana? Was it all Rose Bowl? Did people get that for Christmas?
Yeah, for the most part. I had a rule with my family that, we could talk about it in the morning, but, when the whole family's there at night, there's no football. Just wanted to spend some time with family, kind of get away from it. But family's excited, grandparents, aunts, uncles. Everybody's talking about the Rose Bowl and how much it means to them, just as fans and supporters. So it'd definitely be a good one.
So how'd you get your mind away from it? Were you watching Stranger Things or something like that?
Nah.
What'd you do?
So I have a dog, so that's kind of an easy one for me. But going home, I just was with family a lot. Playing board games. I'm a big Monopoly guy myself,
Nice.
So any chance I get to play Monopoly, I'm all in. Friends and family over playing, all types of games like that.
A dog guy, good man. So tell me about this offense. You're playing Alabama. They looked pretty good last time out. They've been a little up and down. What did you learn on film? You've had a lot of time to watch.
Yeah, they're a good team. Physical up front, big. They're getting the run game going, which is dangerous for them. And obviously a pass game is elite with a really good quarterback and great weapons around him. So it'd definitely be a challenge for us. One that I think we're ready for and we'll be prepared for. But a really good offense and a really good team.
Thanks, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Good luck.
What's your preferred Monopoly piece?
I'm always the boat.
Boat?
Every time, yeah.
How come?
So one of my buddies would always bring it over, and he kind of got me into it. He was always the top hat, and I was like, I didn't want like the dog or like a little like the bird or chicken or anything, so I just had to go with the boat, and it's done well for me, so I got to keep with it.
Okay, very good. You came in last year, and it seemed like almost immediately stepped into kind of a leadership role. How did that work as a new guy in the program?
Yeah, I think just with the culture we were building, me being familiar with it, being with Coach Sig for a while, it was more comfortable for me to be able to step up to the guys that, when you go to the first workout, everybody's looking around, who's going to break us down, who's going to be challenging each other to, win the rep or compete, or who's just going to talk trash and, break the barrier of, we're all being awkward and transfers and we stayed here, all those things. So for me, it was about, somebody's got to do it. So step up, be that guy. I was in that role a little bit at JMU. As a sophomore, it was a little bit different though. But I felt comfortable doing it. I kind of felt the guys kind of gravitate towards me when I was able to do that and step up and, just kind of take it and run with it instead.
You guys, as a program, obviously kept hitting milestones. You go to the playoff last year, you go undefeated this year, you win the Big Ten, you beat Ohio State, you beat Oregon. Another one here, SEC opponent, Alabama as big a name as possible. What's the mindset coming into taking on this challenge? Yeah,
you have opportunity to win another football game. So for us, I know I've talked about it, just being at the Rose Bowl is, a special experience. This game is, like it says, the granddaddy of them all. So but for us, it's just one more game that, we're fighting for our lives to play more football. So the preparation has to be at an all-time high. Everything we do, the details, the communication, everything, we have to, up at another level. But just prepare for it and treat it like it is any other game, because at the end of the day, it's just a football game that we're going to go play in.
Aiden, talked to you before the season, and you said that the Big Ten championship was possible. You guys said
and going undefeated was possible. Like, what's behind that never wavering belief that a lot of people say you can't, but here you are and you did everything that your coach and your team said was possible is, and you did it, and now you're here. And certainly the job's not finished, but what's the story behind that, this group, this culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just get to see our team firsthand. So, I'm going through spring ball, playing against these guys, playing with them. And then you put me in fall camp with them. And I had a lot of confidence in our team, just seeing, first of all, what 15 can do over there with the football in his hands. And then you're able to kind of see how our O-line works, the receivers, tight ends, running backs. So I've been seeing our offense do this for a while. I had all the confidence in the world in them. And then from a defensive standpoint, I'm always confident in us. I think it was a matter of, how long will it take for us to mesh, as we had a lot of transfers, but we were able to kind of hold over the culture that we set last year. So I think that kind of made everything a little bit quicker. I think by week 4, week 5, when we played Illinois, we were kind of hitting on all cylinders. So, I just had a lot of confidence in this team, and, obviously our coaching staff, there's nobody better in the country. So, just believing in us, believing in the guys that we have in that locker room, the coaches, and not setting limits on ourselves. We know that we can do anything and accomplish anything we want as a team. It just takes the work and the preparation to do it.
To see where IU was to where it is right now, in just a span of 2 years, is that cool to be a part of?
Oh, most definitely. I think once I'm done playing, I'll definitely look back, and it'll be something really cool to kind of think about. Right now, I think we're all so in the moment that sometimes we don't kind of catch on to what's happening. But you've seen the culture change, you've seen the shift in momentum all across the campus. When I first got to Indiana, I was just asking people around, what are the football games like? Do you go? Like, how does that work? And it was, the tailgates are awesome, but I haven't been to a game since, I was in high school, and since I was from India, I was like, man, that's kind of weird. Now everybody's fighting over tickets, so it's cool to see the change, and from no crowd to sellouts every week. It's what Indiana deserved. Coach Sig called it, a sleeping giant when we first got here, and they're awake now, and I'm sure they'll be awake in the Rose Bowl as well.
Sig said in Indy, I've got 3.5 weeks to get them humble and hungry again. How'd he do it?
Yeah, he's done just that. Practice. We know there's so much more that we can accomplish, and how much better we can be as a team. And I think that's the exciting part about this team is when you look at the film. From any game we've played this year, we haven't put together our best 4 quarters yet. And I think that's what keeps us so excited and eager and hungry to just keep working, preparing. There's so much more that we can accomplish, and if we can just play a clean 4-quarter football game, obviously it's football, and everything's not going to go your way, but that's what you're chasing. You're chasing perfection, with this program and with Coach Sig. So I just think it's so exciting as a team to kind of see that film and know there's so much more that we can do to be so much better.
Thanks, Aiden.
Thank you.
You mentioned the culture shift you saw in Indiana. How quick did you notice that, or is it something you kind of look back on and like, well, this completely changed?
Yeah, I would think through my first year at Indiana, that's when it kind of started to shift. I remember coming out here for the UCLA game in the Rose Bowl, and that was kind of like a test for a lot of people. First Big Ten game, how good are we going to perform against teams that stack up against us? And then we came home, and I think it was the Maryland or I think it was Nebraska game at that time, to a sellout, and I think that kind of changed everything for the fan base, knowing that we're not just going to go beat Group of 5 teams and the non-conference, but to be able to go in and beat Big Ten opponents. I think they just needed some hope, they needed some belief, and we were able to give them that, and then sellouts started happening right after.
What was that first sellout like?
Oh, it was awesome. When you walk out through our stadium, there's a window you can kind of see out before you get to the tunnel, and you just see all the towels waving, not a single seat was open, and it's just special to be a part of. This fan base, deserves it, and they travel well to every away game, and home games they get loud, they get wild. So it's been special to be a part of, and our fan base is just unbelievable.
Thank you.
How do you explain why these last 2 years have happened? Like the blanket explanation.
Coach Signetti. I think that's the easiest thing to say. His preparation, the belief he has in himself and his players, the way he attacks the transfer portal, the way he evaluates and develops talent. it's all him right there, and he just does such a great job with everything. I don't think there's one stone that doesn't get turned when we go through preparation or anything, off season or in season.
And you guys have talked all week about this being just another game, but is there a sense in the locker room, in the team, that this game means something more for this fan base and for just the program as a whole?
I think to our program and our fan base, it definitely could mean a little bit more. For us, we don't want to get wrapped up in that, because then you make it something, it's not. At the end of the day, it's still 4 quarters of football that you got to go play. So you don't want to get tied into the things that could almost be like rat poison in a way. However, we do know what the significance of the Rose Bowl is. But at this point in the season, it's about playing football games and trying to survive and advance. So you got to take it one game at a time, one practice at a time with the preparation. But definitely an exciting venue to be at, exciting tradition to be a part of. We're looking forward to it.
It's been about over a month since you guys have played a football game. How do you guys kind of keep the momentum and rolling through the regular season? You guys have had such a long playoff.
Yeah, I think it starts with our preparation and our practices. When you have our defense going against our offense, sometimes it does simulate a game a little bit, just with how competitive we are. So we were able to do that a couple times throughout practice. But everybody's kept the main thing the main thing. The goal is to come in here and start fast and be who we are from the first snap to the last snap, and not take a while to kind of get going. I think we've done a great job in our preparation to never be slow or lethargic in practice. It's energetic every single day. We're competing. There's a lot of trash talk. Like, everything you want from a competitive football team is there in practice, and I think it'll translate as soon as we touch the field.
Is it kind of difficult to have such a long layoff and not play an actual game in front of actual fans in the stadium, things like that, kind of simulate that environment?
Yeah, I think honestly for me, I can get antsy a little bit, in my preparation. There's a lot of film that you can click through, a lot of film that you can watch. I think I've been through more than any game so far, so you just have it in 3.5 weeks. But it's been an exciting experience. Going through, you can kind of have a time to refresh and reset your mind a little bit. And I think that's done wonders for our team to be able to come back in, prepare with a new focus and a new mindset, and it's definitely paying dividends, as you can see, like in practice, and even some of the things we do like outside of practice. The preparation just kind of turned to another level. I think a lot of guys are just refreshed and refocused back on football now.
When it comes to personal growth over these last few years, is there hurdles that you're most proud of yourself for jumping over since arriving in that?
Yeah, absolutely. In a football way or
Anyway.
personal? Oh yeah, absolutely. Coming to Indiana, I just had this conversation with my mom the other day, actually. Best decision of my life. When I look back at it, and I loved my last stop. Amazing football program. Great tradition, culture, everything was great there. Coming to Indiana, I think I really found myself as a person and a man, and especially a man of faith. I was able to kind of isolate myself a little bit the first 2 months, maybe not by choice, being by a bunch of new people, but just a really special 2 years I've had to kind of be more to myself, learn about myself more, find myself in faith, and it's led me down where I'm at now. But I mean, there's just so many things I think I've learned, leadership things, how to be a better teammate, how to be a better friend, son, brother, anything that you can think of. I've learned a lot here. And I think being around the people of Indiana has really showed me a lot. Everybody is so nice in Indiana, and they just treat everybody with the utmost respect. They really appreciate everybody that comes through. But, it's been a special 2 years, and the best decision of my life was coming to Indiana.
What do you credit with your growth in leadership? Is it Coach Signetti thing? Is it a guy last year that showed amazing how to be a leader on the Indiana team? Or is it a different thing?
I think it's a combination of both. I've been around some really special players and leaders in my career. Going back to JMU, Torres Jones was somebody that I really looked up to. Just the way that he was so competitive and fiery with everybody else. Then you kind of take that to James Carpenter, who was really quiet, but when it was time to go, he's loud. Then obviously Curtis Rourke. And honestly, having Pat Coogan here has been really good for me. Just kind of seeing different ways of leadership and how to be effective in communication with different people. It's not all about just talking to somebody the same way every single time to everybody, but my teammates have done an amazing job helping me grow, as a leader. And then obviously, I have a great coaching staff that kind of shows me the way, will give me the resources to kind of get out and communicate, and how do we get things done. But I give credit to all those guys, and then, I think I was just blessed with, leadership from the Lord. I think He guides me in ways that I wouldn't know how to manage myself. So it's been special, and, a lot of things to credit to that. Thank you.
Is getting to play Alabama a special thing? Because, you've beaten so many good teams the last 2 years during this rise, but this is the team that was, kind of dominant program in the country while you guys were growing up. Is it cool to play Alabama?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely, playing in the Rose Bowl itself is a privilege. And they're a really good football team. I know a lot of people will kind of misconstrue that and, say different things. This is a really good football team we're playing, and we have a huge challenge on our hands. But, obviously Alabama is the premier football, program for the last decade, or decade plus, honestly. So, it's going to take a lot. Our preparation has to be at an all-time high, and I think it is right now. But, it's a privilege to play in this football game and to have a really good opponent like the one we have.
What do you think of their offense in particular on tape? What stood out to you?
Yeah, first of all, watching the Oklahoma game recently, I think they did a great job in the pass game. I think this quarterback is really good. I think that he does a great job sitting in the pocket and, delivering some throws while taking hits. He also does a great job expanding plays and, doing the things that, aren't always seen when you look at the stats. He makes plays happen. If that's play fakes, if that's, handing it off and, faking it, or just extending plays. He does a great job with everything. And they're getting the run game going, which is dangerous for them. They're big up front, and they're physical, and they're strong. So, we're going to have our hands full, with explosive receivers as well. So, this offense is impressive. One that's, kept me up a little bit at night. So, I'll just keep going my preparation. But, we're excited for the opportunity to match up against them.
Aiden, for the past 2 years, you've talked about how meaningful it is to play for Indiana, to represent this school, this fan base, and your teammates. How special is it to play in this game with this group and represent Indiana at this level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this team that we have this year is the closest team I've had in my career. It's been so special, each and every game to just see how we respond to adversity. I think that's been my favorite part of this whole season. Every single game, I swear, it feels like we get like a challenge. It's like, are you going to answer it or not? And I think thus far we've answered every single challenge that's come up. But they talk about the old Rose Bowl team a lot at Indiana, especially when I first got here. And to be back here, and a lot of people that are going to be flying out to this game and reliving old memories, I think is really cool for our fan base and the culture of Indiana. But just got to go out there and win this football game, because if not, there will be no celebrations and it won't mean much. So. A privilege and an honor to be playing in the Rose Bowl, but we're still playing a football game with 4 quarters that we have to go win.
Aiden, can you talk about Eddie's influence in helping you guys stay focused for this game and forgetting everything in the past?
Yeah, Coach Sig does a great job of humbling people and keeping them focused. Throughout the whole week, it's never been about. Or even when we didn't have an opponent, it was never about always beating an opponent. It was how can you be the best version of yourself today? How can you be the best teammate, leader? How can you be the best offense in the country, defense in the country, special teams? So it's in every single phase and facet of the way that we practice and prepare. It's all about being the best version of us, and not so much about our opponent, especially when you don't have an opponent. And then when we did get Alabama as our opponent, you can tell the preparation just flipped. We had previewed them a little bit, for the last 2 weeks. And then, once we understood who the opponent was, it just kind of upped a notch. But he's done a great job of, blocking out the noise. We don't hear anything in the media, really ever. And that's because of the way he runs his program and his culture.
And how does that preparation look day to day? How did that change?
Yeah, so as soon as we knew that we had Alabama, the preparation was fully on Alabama. And then we kind of go through each day with different scenarios. If that's, different down the distance, field area, things like that. And then it just kind of takes off from there. But before that, the first 2 weeks we were previewing both teams, sprinkling some Alabama, sprinkling some Oklahoma, kind of see how our plays would, fit up against theirs. But, obviously once you get Alabama, everything is focused on Alabama and how we're going to fit up against them. Yeah, thank you.
What stood out about Alabama up front on offense?
Yeah, offensively, they're special. They have a really good O-line, big, physical. They're getting the run game going with really talented running backs. Receivers are explosive. They have guys all over the field that can take the top off, or catch and run from any point on the field. So we definitely have to have our hands full, especially when you have a quarterback that's playing at a high level like he is. Extends plays, sits in the pocket, takes hits, can run the ball, very capable runner. We have our hands full and they're explosive, so it'll be a challenge for us and one that I think we prepared well for. We're excited for it.
What do you think of 80, Josh Davis, the tight end?
Yeah, I know he's been banged up a little bit, but he's a special player when he gets in. I think he does a great job in pass protection. I think he does a great job in run blocking, and then obviously he's a threat when he gets the ball in his hands. He's a great route runner, so we're gonna have our hands full with him as well. He's a really good player and one that's explosive. We got to make sure we know where he's at.
You face Fernando in practice. What do you think is the hardest thing about reading his eyes as a linebacker?
Can you say that one more time?
You face Fernando in practice, so what do you think is the hardest thing about reading his eyes as a linebacker?
Oh yeah, I love going against Fernando. I think it's such a challenge in itself. We go at it every single day, and we'll always laugh it off at the end. But he is just so good at knowing what coverage you're in before the ball's even snapped. He's such a smart player that if he can figure out what you're in, he's going to dissect you in every single way. And playing off his eyes is hard, especially when you're a zone defender, because he knows where the pockets are and the weaknesses of your coverage. He's going to find them as long as he can move you with his eyes, and he does a great job of doing that. He's just such a smart player, and I think when he knows what you're in, he's able to use his eyes to the effectiveness that he does, and he's just a really special player in himself. Thank you.
Good, how you doing? Michael Custer from AL.com. Nice to meet you. Birmingham. I'm just asking guys, Indiana, why is Indiana good? Like, why did you guys get to where you are right now?
Yeah, first starts with Coach Sig. When you have a coach and coaching staff with Coach Haynes and Shanahan, you're going to be a special team regardless of your players. But I think the fact they have the players that they do, guys that weren't highly recruited, that weren't highly touted throughout high school or in the transfer portal, guys that feel like they have something to prove every time they step on the field. I think that's the biggest thing. Nobody expects handouts or feels like they deserve everything they get or anything. So it's all about earning stuff for us, and guys that just put their head down and work. I couldn't think of one person on our team that is kind of the prima donna or anything like that. It's just guys that want to put their head down and work and be the best at what they do. I think that's what makes it special.
Is there motivating factors that people talk about, the talent levels, and like you guys weren't five-star recruit guys coming to college? Does that fire you up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's funny at times. You see all these teams with the different talent levels and 5 stars, 4 stars, and all these things. I don't think we have a single 5-star or anything. So it's not always about a single player or the stats or the stars. It's who the best football team is.
Right.
And I think we do a great job of being a great football team together, and not just a bunch of individuals just playing the sport. It's all about what the team wants, what's in the best interest of the team at all times, and I think that's why we're so effective. Is nobody's thinking about themselves, always about the team.
And did you even have a recruiting profile coming out of high school? Was it you?
I don't think I did. I think as soon as I signed to JMU, I got one put up, but I don't think I had one throughout high school.
So that's got to be pretty cool that for somebody who was almost completely overlooked to be where you are.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great story.
Yes, sir.
I covered Alabama for like 15 years, and all those teams. I kind of like the story of your team. It's really interesting it's hard to cheer against you guys because you guys have kind of done it the old-fashioned way in a sense. Does it feel like old-fashioned?
Yeah, honestly, to us, when I look at our team, just looking across at Elijah Surratt or Isaiah Jones, none of these guys were big-time recruits.
Yeah.
So it's not just like we have a couple players that weren't recruited. It's the whole team.
Yeah.
It's special to see, and honestly, at this point, I think we embrace it so much that when you line up against somebody else, it's this guy is talked about to be the best thing since sliced bread. Okay, well he has to prove it to me. It's not like I'm going to buy into that. He has to prove it to us every time, and I think that's something that definitely motivates us when we're out there.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I really like it. I'm interested in this team. I hope you guys do well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we got some fun questions for you.
All right.
Hopefully.
Fun, hopefully. Okay. What is your favorite Signetti saying?
There's so many, and I don't think I can say some of them. Have you ever heard like his whole speech where he just kind of goes on? It's that one. I can't do it, but like our strength coach can do it really well. He knows all of them. So I'll say that one. It's like 6 seconds of play, smart, fast, disciplined, poised. Yeah, it's like all that. I can't think of all of them, but it's good.
Those are good. If you could make a parade float for the Rose Bowl parade, what would it be?
That's good. I thought it had to be like a bouquet of roses. I just let it float all the way down. That'd be pretty cool.
I love that. Do you watch fan edits of yourself?
No, but I actually had one sent to me by my sisters, and like they think it's funny. It was kind of like a random one, and then somebody in the comments was saying like some crazy things. So my sisters get all into that, but I don't really see them.
I love it. How are LA and Bloomington different?
They're a little different. When you look at LA, I think there's a lot of people, a lot of lights, buildings, a lot of attractions that bring people here. Bloomington's a little different, small college town, but it's special to me. So I'm gonna go with Bloomington every time.
Final question: when you hear Rose Bowl, what is the first thing you think of?
I just think of a lot of legends that have played this game. I think there's so many great teams and players that have played here. And I think it's just special to be a part of, and I'm excited to go out there and be there.
I love it. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
I hear a lot about this program about details. Details are crucial. Could you give an example of a football detail that's stressed and emphasized that might not be somewhere else?
Yeah, I can give you one easily on the defensive side of the ball. A small thing for us is just what your physical key is. We have a lot of different things that we talk about, and different checks in our defense. So for us, everything is so detailed in what we do. So the physical key is like if I'm going to strike, this guy in front of me or this guy that I'm not working to. It's just different things like that. So when we talk about the details, it's all about the smallest little things that to a naked eye you really won't catch on, from the stands. But there's a lot of things. What is my first step as a linebacker? Am I going the right direction? Is my drop flat or am I getting depth? Things like that. That sometimes when you're watching football as a fan, and I can be a person that does it too as well. But it's like, man, why didn't he just run to the ball right there? There's so many different jobs and things, and those are the little details that kind of amount to big things.
And the physical key is what? Is where you're going.
It can be, who are you reading? So I know for a lot of people, when they watch football, it's just, does the quarterback have it? Does anybody have it? Some teams, read an offensive line. Some teams read a running back, different things. So it's all about where your eyes at. So your physical key can be, who are you, as a D lineman, who are you stepping to and who are you striking? Or as a linebacker, it's who are you reading? And different things like that. For safeties, linebackers, it's who are you reading to kind of get, a step ahead on the play. Yep.
Aiden, you look at just what this coaching change has been done as far as Coach Signetti implementing what his vision is and also the stability of this team. How does that help you this season as a player and being able to be a part of this defense?
Yeah, I think for me, obviously being with Coach Sig for 4 years now, I've seen the changes that he's been able to do at different places. And I think this year, when we got challenged a little bit as a defense with injuries and how we respond, and I think that's when you see our coaching staff shine the brightest. Different guys step up in different situations. I went down at one point. Isaiah Jones steps up and plays 2 fantastic football games. We lost Kellen Wyatt early in the season, and you have Stephen Daly step up and lead the nation in TFLs. So it's always something new with our team. We're always figuring out different ways to win. That's the name of the game at the end of the day. Just figure out ways to win football.
When you look at a quarterback like Ty Simpson, you saw how he's been able to advance and develop. What are some of the challenges, I would say, that you guys, when you look at him, that you guys have to make sure that you lock in on to make sure that he's not successful?
Yeah, he's got some swagger to him. You can tell when you're watching him. I think as the season went on, obviously going through my film, I think he's gotten more comfortable and more confident, especially in this Oklahoma game. I think he looked really good. He sits back there, he takes a lot of hits sometimes, and he does a great job, still delivering the football, doing a great job of, dishing out to his playmakers, and, they're everywhere on the Alabama offense. So he does a great job of that, but I think he does a great job of commanding the offense, and I think that's what makes him very successful. He does a great job reading, who's blitzing, who's not, what coverage are you in, what your disguise could be. I think he does such a good job with that it allows him to play, confident and fast now. And obviously the arm talent speaks for itself, and he can run. He's a capable runner that's can be explosive. I think that's where he presents most of his challenges, especially when he extends plays.
Aiden, you played football a long time. What is it about Fernando that stands out to you that just makes this guy? I mean, we see what he does on the football field, but what makes him so special to be your leader of this team?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot I can say about Fernando. He's such a special human being. Everybody gravitates towards him. If that's dinner or playing a board game with him, like he's just somebody that you enjoy being around. And I don't know if the media sees a lot of that. That dude's pretty funny. So he's just like a really good teammate that everybody wants to play for. And then obviously football-wise, his arm talent is off the charts. But I think how smart he is in his preparation is what's made him so successful and effective. I love going against him because I feel like it's like a simulation of the biggest challenge ever. He's so smart, and he knows what coverage you're in. He tries to look people off. He tries to thread it through tight windows. But he's just so good at what he does from an IQ level. I think he's so far ahead of the defense when he's out there playing that it just makes him so confident in himself.
Yeah, only 8 teams left. You're at the Rose Bowl. How much are you appreciating this moment, but knowing that there's a big task at hand on Thursday?
Yeah, I told the guys, I don't even know what day it is right now, but I told them during practice one day, there's 8 teams left. Everybody wants to be in your shoes. So embrace the moment, be where your feet are, but we don't want to just be the top 8, we want to keep going. So, I've said it before, like we're fighting for our lives just to play more football. So it comes down to this game, and obviously the Rose Bowl is such a special and historic tradition, and one that we're not going to take for granted. It's a blessing to be here, and we're honored. But we want to play more football. So at the end of the day, it's still a 4-quarter football game that we got to go play on Thursday. We're looking forward to it, but it's definitely special to be a part of.
What is it about Coach Cignetti? It seems like I don't get blown out. He has you so focused. And that ain't easy to do for a head coach. But what is it about him that stands out to you where he's able to get you guys dialed in week and week out?
Yeah, I think for me, seeing him the last 4 years, is he's always chasing something. And I think that's the same way our team is. We talk about it all the time. I think Pat Coogan says it best. I've talked to him about it. It's just we haven't put together a game of 4 quarters of our best football. And I think that's so exciting for us. And just knowing like what's ahead, and the potential that we have when we do put together a 4-quarter game of us playing our best football. It's going to be special. So there's always something to chase. Obviously it's football. Everything doesn't go your way. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be human error. But man, if you're not chasing it, I don't know what you're doing. So, we're excited about it. The potential of this team, and offense, defense, special teams. Like we haven't played a full 4-quarter game yet. I think just knowing that we have so much more that we can improve on and so much better to be is so exciting for us.
I wanted to ask you about Pat anyway. You just mentioned him. But actually, you guys have 2 offensive linemen who played in the national championship a year ago. What role have those guys played? In what ways, if any, have you guys leaned on that experience?
Yeah, I think Pat Coogan was one of the best transfer portal additions for Indiana that we could have ever had. And I've told him that from a leadership standpoint, he is just a different player. He's so smart, but he knows how to lead men. He knows how to be effective in communication. And then obviously going through what he had last year, going to the national championship, playing in big games like this, we can lean on his experience a little bit. Tell us about the kind of the ins and outs of, how's it going to be when we get there? How's it going to be going through the preparation, away from home, things like that. But he's been such a vital key of success for us that it's been so important to have him. I couldn't stress it enough that he is so important to this football team. And then having Zen as well, he's been the same way. He's been so instrumental in his leadership and having the experience that he had and kind of showing us what it was like and just talking us through it. But two really special players, and we wouldn't be where we are without them.
Do you have any memories of either of those guys putting a block on you, either in the college football playoff game in South Bend or, one of your matchups against Ohio State?
I remember Coogan a little bit. I don't think we ever had like a one-on-one situation. I'm pretty sure me and him got chippy a couple times, and we were just talking to each other, but both of them are really good players. I remember after playing Notre Dame, kind of walking away like, their center was pretty good. He was pretty good. So once we saw he hit the portal, I remember our strength coach kind of telling us, who was in the portal and stuff. And I saw it on Twitter. I was like, whatever you guys need me to do, like, we got to go get that guy. He was special.
Does he run his mouth a little bit out there?
Coogan? Oh, absolutely. That guy loves to talk. I think it's something for an offense to see when their leader is also out there talking. I know defenses are known for trash talk and can be annoying or pest or whatever. But I think when he's able to do it, and Fernando does it as well. Just kind of giving you something back. It kind of gets everybody fired up and excited to play.
So what's a Pat Coogan speech like?
Pat Coogan's speeches give you chills. Usually I miss them. I have headphones on. Isaiah Jones, he takes his headphones off just to hear them for the O-line. So I don't know what it is that he does or how he does it. He just knows exactly what to say and when to say it. And there's just a lot of passion in his voice, a lot of energy. He gets everybody going.
One of the things he said last night was something like, this is a profession, or this is our profession. Do you think of this as your profession? And if so, how does that shape how you go about your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, just honing into it, being as focused as possible in my preparation, knowing, this is our profession right now, but it's something that a lot of us want to make a profession for a long time. And I think if you treat it like that now, it'll pay dividends in the future. And I think that's how you have to approach it right now, just with the job at hand right now, preparing for it. But definitely something that we look at as serious as possible.
Thanks, Aiden. Good luck.
Thank you.
Pat, last year when he was at Notre Dame, beat a couple of SEC teams, A&M and then Georgia in the playoffs. Has he talked about that and talked about maybe what it takes to beat an SEC team and their physicality?
Not as much about just the SEC in general. We kind of know we're getting our hands are full with an SEC opponent. I think he's done a great job just kind of walking us through the process of how it goes. Being further than the first round of the playoffs and the big games and the atmosphere and things like that. And obviously he talked about it a little bit, just playing against those guys and the challenge they present. But I think for us, watching the film, we understand what we're going against. Really explosive team, big, physical. But our preparation has been great up until this point. A couple more days of doing it, and I think we'll be ready to go.
How do you guys approach the conversation about strength of schedule? How much you think improved when he beat Ohio State and kind of the caliber of team they are?
I haven't really thought about it much. I think you have a great opportunity to prove your strength of schedule right now. We'll play Thursday against a really good football team, and I think the strength of schedule conversation is kind of out the window now. And you just kind of look at it as a one-game season. And, how good is that strength of schedule at this point? So everybody's strength of schedule should be good. Playing in the playoffs and really good teams from 1 through 12. So a great opportunity to kind of prove it right now.
Hey, when it comes to the linebacker, it feels like no matter who's on the field, it's a great play. What is it that makes the entire room so great?
I think obviously our coach is phenomenal and one of the best in the country. But the way that we play off of each other, I think is really special to see. We do a great job of communicating. We do a great job of, if somebody makes a mistake, we have another linebacker, fixing them over the top. There's a lot of things that I think we just do really well together. And obviously the scheme that we play in allows a lot of guys to just play fast and free. And I think the linebackers benefit from that, especially when you have guys that are just instinctual and know how to get to the football and react quickly. But watching Isaiah Jones and Elijah Hardy play football, is really fun. Those guys are so talented and special, and they've really grown into their own this year. They've done a great job every opportunity they get, and it's been special to see.
Obviously, you've been on the sideline for a few games. What has it meant for you to be able to kind of coach them up a little bit from the sideline, help them out?
It definitely sucks to be on the sideline and not out there with them, but I think going into the playoffs, we're going to need them to step up, and the way they have. It's been really special to see. But being on the sideline, I think it was a little chance for me to take a step back. And assess myself. How am I going to be as a teammate and a leader? I think I did my best. Trying to help those guys and lead them. They played great in those 2 games, and it was really special to see as well.
And while you were out, were those
We're going to pull Aiden. We're going to pull him for something he's got to do now.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.